Hi guys, today I wanted to give you a first look of the Insta360 1R, the new camera from Insta360, which combines a modular system of an action camera, a 360 camera and a 1-inch sensor camera. So without further ado, let's have a look at the video that's come out. It's announcement day today, so we haven't got the full specs, but we're going to talk through the video that's been leaked online, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on the pros and cons to the system and what I think the likely price and the rest of the specs are likely to be. Let's get into this. Okay, so from the initial video that they circulated online, you've got a battery base, you've got a core module which contains the record and the on and off button, and also that's where your SD card goes, micro SD card. You've then got a 360 camera module, and then you've got a single lens 4K wide angle module, which I believe is a equivalent 2.8 aperture and about 16, I think it's said on the side of the camera later in the video, about 16.4mm equivalent. So that's pretty wide. Be interesting to see what the actual final field of view is on that versus a GoPro, and whether you're able to change the field of view like you are on a GoPro with their digital lens set up. You've then got to the side a 1-inch sensor module, which she talks about very briefly, but basically that is going to be sold separately by the looks of things. So this is called the Insta360 1R Twin Edition, which she talks about in detail here, and that is essentially without the 1-inch sensor part. So it's the two camera modules and the battery base and the core. So she's saying that the 1-inch sensor can shoot in 5.3K, which makes it the highest quality action camera available around. So interested to see how that works, whether you can actually protect that front element, because it looks pretty big and likely to be easily damaged. So they're showing how you build it. They seem to snap together, and they've got contacts on each of the camera modules. They're using what appears to be a base, which is a battery. So you don't have a removable battery like you would in a traditional action camera. It'd be interesting to see whether they sell these separately, these bases, and how much they are if they do sell them separately, because otherwise that is a bit of a con to this system, a bit of a limiting factor really, if you're reliant on just that battery base. It does look like it will be a decent size, so it's probably, you'd hope it would give maybe double the time of a standard like GoPro battery or something like that, but we'll have to wait and see on the specs of that, because it's not clear from the video. She doesn't talk about battery life at all. It's showing it snapping together. You can see on the front of the core unit that you've got a microphone there. It looks like a microphone. There's 3 little lines. That looks like quite a big front-facing microphone. There's also what looks to be a microphone on the top of the camera module. So I would expect there to probably be 2 or 3 microphones. They're saying that this is going to be completely waterproof when it's built, but not waterproof when it's not built. So obviously once it's all snapped together, it will be waterproof down to 5 meters. So that's fairly comparable with a GoPro or GoPro Max. The dual lens 360 camera, they don't specify what resolution you can shoot, so I'm presuming that it's likely to be similar to the 360 One X that's already out, so probably 5.7K. They talk about AI editing functions. Interesting to note, in the shot with the paraglider, it's a bright sunny day and there's no red dots shown, which always used to come up in Insta361X footage, particularly in that kind of lighting. So hopefully they've dealt with that issue. The other shot doesn't really tell us much else. I'm interested to see what the stitch line's like, because this camera is a lot wider and deeper than the Insta361X, so it's more like their Evo camera really. And obviously the wider the camera is, the less good the stitching generally, as a rule of thumb. They show another shot where you're going over a hot air balloon. That's obviously attached to a drone. They said in the previous video they released, the trailer for this camera, that it would combine a traditional action camera, a 360 camera, a drone and a 1-inch sensor. Well, obviously they've shown 3 of those 4 things by giving you that modular system. What they haven't shown is how it combines a drone. Maybe it will be that there's going to be some kind of accessory to attach it onto a drone easily, but unless they're actually going to produce a drone themselves, it just seems like it's another camera that can be mounted to a drone. So I don't really quite understand what they're meaning in that video where they were mashing up all the different cameras in a blender. The 4K wide angle camera looks like it will be similar in quality to GoPro. It's got flow state stabilization. They're saying that they've upgraded that, so hopefully that will be even better than it was on the Insta361X, but it was really good on that camera, so it should be comparable to Hypersmooth, I would have thought. They show a couple of clips of someone surfing, someone snorkeling or diving. The touch screen is interesting. It's got a live view preview, so you can pan around when you're in 360. You can choose all your shooting modes. I mean, it looks like a kind of similar interface to GoPro, maybe slightly simpler. What's nice is you can turn the touchscreen around because it's on the camera core module. You can turn that around so that it's facing you, so you get the best of both worlds for vlogging. And the other thing to note is that all of these modules clip together and then go into a housing similar to what GoPro used to use. And the one big downside to that for me is that the SD card is on the side, the door for the SD card is on the side of the core module. So it's hard to tell from the video whether you'll be able to access that without taking out of that plastic housing. I wonder whether it will be like the old GoPros where you couldn't do that, you had to take the camera out of the housing to access that SD card. So that's potentially one negative of this system that they're using. It would be good if they've somehow managed to incorporate like some kind of cutout. It looks like there might be one, but I'm not sure quite how the door would open properly and how you get the SD card in and out. It looks like they're using micro SD cards, although that's not shown, but the size of the door suggests that is what it will be, and that's probably likely given it's an action camera. The next part of the video they move on to waterproofing and camera care, essentially. So they're talking about the fact that it's waterproof when it's built, but when you take it apart, obviously it's not waterproof. So really intrigued to see how this works, because there's potential for that to go really wrong really quickly actually if you haven't put it together quite right. They show a little latch on the side of the camera, which I think is the memory card door, and she's saying if that's yellow, that's not, it needs to not be yellow essentially, otherwise it's not clicked together properly. So she's saying that you should wipe away dust and dirt from the base and from the contacts, and then it clips together But what I don't understand is how that then is properly waterproofed, because on a GoPro, for example, you've got like those kind of those seals on the doors and everything is properly sealed. On here it doesn't really seem like clicking the base on, for example. I don't see how that's waterproofing it, but we'll have to wait and see. They also talk about locking the touchscreen when you're underwater, which is a straightforward slide down from the top. It's very similar to GoPro. And yeah, I'm interested to see whether this is going to be waterproof and able to actually shoot 360 underwater without any kind of other housing, because usually a 360 camera won't shoot proper video underwater unless you've got a proper housing for it, because the diffraction of the water messes up the stitch line. So she's showing drying off each part of the camera after you've had it in water. So again, there's potential for, if you don't do that properly, whether the contacts will get rusty. I don't know. It's a really interesting concept, but it's something that I think some people are going to find they have a lot of issues with. So she says that each mod, so each camera, so the 360 camera and the wide angle camera, have their own dive case available, which presumably are going to come at a reasonable price tag of probably about $50 or $60 or pounds. That's the usual for these cases, maybe a bit more. So she's saying the 360 dive case allows you to take that down to 30 meters, and the 4K wide angle and the 1-inch sensor mod can go down to 60 meters. So that's interesting. So you're potentially going to have to buy, if you own the whole lot, you may have to buy 3 separate dive cases if you want to take this diving, or essentially under the water more than 5 meters. So I suppose most people aren't going to use it for that. Most people won't need those dive cases, so it's good to have that ability to go so deep though. 60 meters is a long way down, and with the 1-inch sensor that would be really good underwater, I would have thought, because it would be better low light. And then she's talking about using anti-fog inserts. Okay, so that was a first look at the Insta360 1R. I think for me the main things that may stop me buying this camera is the battery, whether it's actually going to last long enough, whether you can buy additional battery bases at a cost that's not prohibitive. So similar money to if you're just buying a new battery for a GoPro, for example. And then also whether you're going to be able to actually wear this like you would a GoPro, so for mountain biking or snowboarding or whatever sport you're doing, whether it's not going to be too heavy, because it looks like it's going to be heavier than a GoPro would be. So interested to see what the overall weight is once it's built. Really interested to get hold of one and have a play with one. I'm going snowboarding at the end of this month, so I really hope that they actually are releasing it and you can buy it from today. The announcement hasn't been officially made. The video I've just shown you is just leaked stuff, so hopefully by the time you're watching this they have made the announcement and we know more about the pricing and release date. But yeah, I hope you found this useful. Please leave comments below on what you think of the camera, whether you think it's a good system, something you would buy, whether you'd sell your GoPro or your other action cameras to buy this. I currently own a GoPro Hero 8 and I've also got the Insta360 1X. So I'm in a position where I'm probably going to sell the 1X, and I may even sell the GoPro 2 to fund buying this camera. What I may do is sell the 1X and then buy this camera, see what it's like. If it's good enough and I think it replaces the GoPro as well, sell that. So yeah, interested to see what you think about it, and there's anything you are disappointed by the camera, hopefully we'll know more by the end of today, and I'll do another video once I've got my hands on one. I'll do a proper review of it, unboxing, all that good stuff. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Subscribe, please like the video if you like this content, and I will see you in the next video.